Hi, everyone. Delfino Aguilar here, SVP of TPO production at Kind Lending. With our newest edition of Del Talk, I am really excited. We're in season 4. I have an awesome guest with us today for episode 2. So, before I get into this interview, we're coming live from the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee, a little bit different environment. This guest is in Texas. We're going to talk a little bit about where he lives and a little bit about, just what we're doing here at Kind. But Krish Dhokia, the SVP of Marketing and Development here at Kind Lending, Kind TPO. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me on, Del.
No problem. Krish, we talk a lot, right? Anyway, so this is gonna be fun. But you have such a great background. Most recently, you've been named the most connected mortgage professional by National Mortgage Professional Magazine. You had a lot of different awards, Atlanta 40 under 40. You've been on several other television shows, Good Morning America Atlanta, I believe too,
Mhm.
is right. So
Yep.
you're well known. Everybody knows who Mr. Krish is, right? So we're excited. But you wear a lot of hats here, as Kind Lending's SVP of Marketing and Development, especially for TPO. You've done a lot of great things for us here at Kind. You bring in a different flavor. Tell us a little bit about, first of all, what brought you here? What brought you to Kind Lending? Because there's so many different options for you, but you decided to come here. So talk to us a little bit about that first.
Wow. In one word, the energy, right? Two words, culture.
Yeah.
I was presented with an opportunity to kind of join Kind Lending a couple of months ago, and it's one of those brands that you're watching, right? No matter where I was over the last couple of years as Kind Lending was forming, I was watching very closely. There's a lot of people that I've worked with in the past that are here now,
Mhm.
and you just couldn't help but as a marketer envy what was happening over here, right? As far as the visual, the brand, just the amazing color scheme, the messaging, and I wanted to be a part of it secretly. And when the opportunity presented itself, I it was one of those things. It was a no brainer. And so I ended up here just earlier, and I guess later and tail end of first quarter.
Mhm.
And the team that was already here, just fantastic. And of course, any opportunity to work with Dell again was great.
Come on, man. That's awesome. I mean, we worked in the past as well. And you talk a little bit about, the energy and the
Mhm.
culture. I mean, there's so much energy over the last 90 days. I feel the company has changed so much. A lot of new talent has come on board. We just picked up 3 account executives who are the best in their areas. So we're excited about that. You talk about people you work with in the past. How important is that, Krish? Because, you know, in our executive meetings, when we talk about strategic initiatives, I feel that the energy is so positive. There's so much momentum, but they're easier conversations because we've worked together in
Sure.
the past. So, can you highlight a little bit about that? Because I think that's a big difference within our company.
Sure. I mean, going back to the wearing many hats, all the
Yep.
way to working with folks that you've worked with in the past, and
Hmm.
just a sheer caliber of experience. When
Yep.
you're sitting in a room talking strategic initiatives, it is that much easier to get things across the finish line. There's
Hmm.
less red tape. There's less silos. Um, you know, you're getting the green light to move forward on projects much faster
Hmm.
through collaboration than everyone picking up their piece and going back and pondering about it. Things just happen a lot quicker in that regard. When you've worked with someone and you feel comfortable in that space, you gel, right? There's you kind of throw that whole, oh, I don't know what they're going to say, what their response is going to be. You kind of already know,
Right.
right? And that is a huge advantage. Now you're not going to have that opportunity all the time, right?
Yep.
As organizations grow, you're going to have a good mix of folks that have worked together and not worked together. But what it isn't cliquish, right?
Right.
It isn't the old school club versus the new school club. It's with that mentality of Kind Lending that, hey, good ideas are all good ideas, right? There's no bad
Right.
ideas. So yeah, it's been a wonderful experience, and I've worked with groups in the past that may not always have been on that same wavelength.
Right. That's a big deal. And you mentioned a lot about, you just mentioned right now something that I think it's important. We've incorporated, you, like you mentioned, our group, people that worked together in the past. But in addition to that, we've also brought in some leaders from different organizations, especially on the sales side, recently, that have given us great feedback, ways to improve. And we're always open to that. And it's making us better. We've already made some process changes regarding the CD process that somebody came over, that gave us some feedback on that. So I think that's really important for everybody to know how inclusive we are when it comes to giving us feedback. So thank you for mentioning that. One of the things that I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about is, we're bringing a lot of AEs on board, right? We're very blessed with that. What should an account executive expect? I feel we have a very good plan around this, but I want you to talk about this because there's so much support. We've changed a lot of different things. We use a great tool, but you and Mackenzie, who's behind the scenes right now, shout out to Mackenzie because she's awesome. So if you guys don't know who Mackenzie Higgins is, we got to get her on here because she runs a show for us in the back. So helping Krish. But what should an account executive expect as they join Kind?
Well, account executives, new account executives that are joining our company can forget about the fake pitch to get them here. One, right? We do follow through with what we say, and that is really important from that perspective. But once they're here, I'm personally vested in connection with our account executives, right? We've had, gosh, I've lost count of how many awesome account executives have joined our team over the last 90 days. But it's making sure that they understand that, hey, there's good ideas that they have. There's tasks, there's tactics that they've used. And we want to be flexible enough to kind of incorporate what works for them best. Now, what we don't have, where a lot of organizations do, is overkill on everything. Right. I've worked at organizations where they've just had too many things, too many CRMs, right? Too many ways to contact your prospects. And it becomes very fake, right? It's overkill. The brokers feel it as well. And so what we make sure we do is, giving them the right amount of tools to be successful. And we also want their input on what has worked for them in the past. And let's see how we can incorporate that into their sales cycle.
Yeah. And I think that's important because, we actually have an AE marketing committee, right? All the AEs that are coming on board, we rotate account executives. A lot of the marketing is built for the AEs and their customers. We're not telling them, hey, this is what you're going to market. We're asking for feedback. We incorporate that, especially from the new account executives, which is great. Krish, you have a lot of experience, right, in different markets. How has this market, this rate environment, rates went up pretty significantly. We're seeing a little bit of a tick down right now with the 10-year where it's at today. A lot of different things are happening in the world, in the markets. How do brokers, how should they change the way they're marketing right now? Or should they change? Or what are your thoughts around that?
Well, if the last question, right, should they change? Of course. I think that in this cycle definitely this cycle is something that no one has ever experienced. No one knows what's in the cards. There's no tarot cards or magic ball to tell you what's going to even happen tomorrow with rates and just the environment that we're in. But there's two words that I like to kind of mention to our broker partners and anyone listening or watching is flexible or flexibility and pivot, right? We all come out every year, the tail end, fourth quarter, say, this is my plan for 2023, whether it's strategic or it's just a very static marketing plan. But what no one has been doing frequently enough is adding that flexibility to pivot. Okay, so hey, if the interest rates go up, what set of marketing materials do you have to combat that? Right? If inventory is low, which it is, what are you doing? What products are you bringing into the mix and telling your audience about, whether it's your realtor partners, your customers, your clients, your first-time home buyers? They need to be pitched what is right. Now, as a loan officer / mortgage broker, you have a fiduciary responsibility to ensure that you're telling your customers about the product that not only fits them best, but also what products is going to be kind of have a better life cycle today during this market, right? So that's very important. One of the things that Glenn Stearns, our awesome founder here at Kind, he and I talked about this just briefly a couple of weeks ago, is, a lot of organizations, whether real estate, mortgage, builders, their internal marketing departments are kind of fizzling out in preparation for this unknown. Whereas at Kind, we're reinvesting in ensuring that our brokers have the tools. So, we need marketers to help get those assets across the finish line. So it's a very different mentality. So we are being flexible in the sense that we're growing in a marketing perspective versus a lot of organizations that are not, because we are invested in ensuring that the broker has the tools. So hope that answers your question, Del. I know
it does. I think, being able to pivot and being flexible is key for any organization, especially, and brokers are entrepreneurs, right? Sure. And they always find a way, if it's a product, changing their marketing. You mentioned a little bit about Glenn, and I think one of the things we should hit on a little bit is social media. Kind TPO is all over LinkedIn. Kind Lending is all over LinkedIn. Instagram, if you haven't followed us, we're on Instagram at Kind TPO. You can look us up that way. Glenn himself has over 120,000 Instagram followers. I was talking with him about that a couple of days ago, which is great, right? So if you haven't followed Glenn, jump on there, him and Mindy. There's a lot of great things that we're posting on social media. And I think that's another piece that the account executives should expect from us when they get here. And from any organization, with any company you're at, it's important to be visible to your customers. Krish, we use a platform that we like for the marketing purposes. Tiles already made. Can you talk a little bit about that? I know you and Mackenzie have put a lot of effort into that real quick for our brokers. We have some non-branded items coming from them as well too. But can you talk a little bit about specifically how we post and how we are active in social media?
Sure. And I should say, just preface with, there's a number of scheduling tools for social media, right? It's ensuring that you have some kind of content plan. So, whether, and here's the thing, we've been uber successful. We continue to be successful for a Kind Lending brand on social media. So there's no secrets here. Right. But essentially, having that content plan, are you going to post a testimonial or a product or a community kind of post or whatever, what days of the week, what times? There are platforms we use, specifically Sprout Social, but there's a number of different platforms you can go in and populate your social media posts in and schedule them out. Now, here's the kicker. We don't post. I should take a step back. I know this was probably something you were going to ask me, Del, but the Kind Lending brand on social media specifically, the foundation was laid and the narrative has been different. And if you've noticed, we do post mortgage related things, but let's talk a minute about how, if you're a mortgage broker, that your audience is probably not super stoked about receiving mortgage related social media in their newsfeed day in and day out, right? And so the happy recipe for success here is ensuring that you have a mix of content. Now, and I like to, and Del knows this about me, but I like to throw out the Georgia Bulldogs in everything I do, every conversation I have.
You do. So, it's all good.
So, for example, if you're a mortgage broker in Athens, Georgia, you probably want to mix in something about the University of Georgia in your content as a local community lender, right? And if you're not, then your audience is probably going to tune out at some point. Mortgage isn't the most exciting thing to people outside of the mortgage industry.
It's not, Chris. It's not. Come on.
I feed off of that stuff, but I can't imagine that. My wife does not read mortgage related social media. So mixing it in, right? Have an opportunity to kind of share some of your realtor partners' content on your social media. And so those things always scheduled. Those things are organic. So you have to dedicate some time to your social media to see that growth. Now, I did read a statistic recently where I think it was like 78% of all mortgage leads, right? And these are referrals or whatnot, are coming through social media. That is insane.
Yeah.
That is insane. So, all of your lead gen places, they're originating majority of their leads through social media: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, just a lot of different places. So if you want to get out there and be successful, pick a platform, get your content plan, find a platform like Sprout Social or Hootsuite, and start scheduling.
Right. Yeah, that's important. It's interesting because I have my Instagram account and I see a lot of my customers that are posting, and do a really good job. My little sister's in the industry, really proud of her. She's really active on social media. I can see that there's a lot of customers that have really taken and embraced that. Because Krish, it's not easy, right? It's not easy to put yourself out there, to make videos, to build a brand for yourself, for your organization as a mortgage broker, for your loan officers. So hats off to everybody who's doing that. More people should do that. Be active, be visible on that. That's a big deal.
Sure.
Krish, let's pivot a little bit.
Sure.
Back to you, pivoting, right? Let's pivot and talk a little bit about how we've shifted a bit when it comes to our marketing around our non-QM product, right? Because I think there's been a lot. We've totally modified. We changed how we're marketing it. I think it's a great offering. We hired a great guy with Matt Johnson, who's our VP of production for non-QM. He's really helped us really understand the product, educate our brokers, educate our account executives. But how have we changed our marketing around that product? Because we're not just sending guidelines out, right? We're talking about scenarios. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that whether it's non-QM or any other product, I think lenders are kind of apprehensive about sharing the backside of that story, right? I mean, typically we go from A to B. We as a consumer or even as a broker, you submit it and it's funded. And there's all this stuff that happens in the middle, right? And so in working closely with Matt Johnson here recently, part of our marketing shift or pivot really has been to start including some of the behind the scenes nuggets, right? Because like you said, Matt has joined the organization to help us, really truly understand this product, because it's not there's multiple facets of this product. There's a myriad of things that happen during the transaction,
right?
And so what we've pivoted to is including those nuggets,
right?
Those pivotal moments, those milestones throughout the transaction, and Mackenzie on my team and I were challenged with how do we make that do a visual representation of that, and it's still using words and using some graphics to include that, but what we look to do is have our brokers understand just from a kind of a snapshot. Oh wow, is that what happens behind the scenes, right? The good and the bad. We want to be fully transparent on how the non-QM product comes to fruition. And when brokers understand that, it's actually helping our mortgage brokers have the right set of tools to then go out and speak to their clients about it, right? And we don't see a lot of our, the other folks in the space doing that, because it is always, hey, it's non-QM, and you're an investor or you're a bank statement, and it's just like these words, right? The words don't follow through to any kind of specific meaning. So.
Okay. Yeah, I love it. I mean, Matt is doing a good job with it. Mackenzie and you have been, we've been really working together to change it. So thank you. I really want to, we have a new flavor, right? It's a new flavor that we're trying to put out there, mixing it up a little bit with some of our marketing. I will say that just, as I've seen non-QM change and evolve, I feel it's almost like how VA was, many, many years ago. I mean, people were afraid of VA. Agents didn't want to take a VA offer because they weren't really sure about it. I think now we're going to start to see more flexibility around that product. Obviously, our focus is all the different products that we have here, not just non-QM, but we are really working hard to educate our account executives and our broker partners moving forward. So, Krish, I want to, personally thank you because, we have put a lot of material out there. And like I mentioned earlier, what your group has done in a short amount of time is just extraordinary, honestly. And so I want to thank you. I want to thank Mackenzie, the rest of the group that's there because we are very active on social media. We are putting out a lot of content for TPO. The AEs, we've had a couple of the AEs join, and they're like, "Man, the marketing is awesome, right?" And you've revamped a lot of the flyers, the tiles, and all those kind of things that are behind the scenes that people don't know that go a lot of time into that, right? They come out a pretty flyer, it's all dialed in, but there's hours and hours behind that, right? So I just want to personally thank you guys for all the hard work you've done, honestly. It's been a real pleasure. I know we're going to continue to grow this. And, Krish, one of the things that we always do here, and you know about this, is ask people what their routine is, their morning routine. I'm a big morning person, right? So I know you have something, Krish. I know you have a morning routine, right? Whatever it is, if you feel comfortable, share it. But, all successful people stick to something no matter what during their morning. So do you have one?
I do. It's funny. Someone asked me this on stage a couple of weeks ago at a public speaking event, and I think I had the crowd laughing a little bit.
There you go,
and left them with a lot of questions as well. So
okay, now I'm excited. So you got to tell me.
One of the things that I love to do. So I love to read. Like there's a couple podcasts I listen to every morning.
Right.
But the very first thing I do is when I jump in the shower, I actually have my phone. I have a phone stand.
Oh, nice.
I watch a TED Talk every morning in the shower.
There you go.
I do watch a TED Talk, and then typically I listen to my Rob Christman podcast, which is fun.
Right.
I listen to Housing Wire Plus, and then I usually just look at my meetings. But I'm doing something, either showering, eating breakfast, or drinking coffee, walking the dogs. I'm always doing something when I'm trying to retain some of that information.
Right.
Versus just plopping down, because I'm going to be plopping down for a good amount of the day at my computer. Right. So I don't want to be, learning and sitting, learning and walking, learning and Peloton or whatever it might be. So,
yeah, that's interesting. How do you keep your phone waterproof? Is my question, right? Your phone can get wet, right? So that's awesome. You're going to share that with me. But I love that because I think everybody, I'll be honest with you, everybody that we've interviewed has their own routine, honestly. And I joke around with it with people, with our team, what are you doing this morning? Like, you all right? Like, what are you doing? But honestly, if all the marketing tips that we've talked about, but really having that routine, I urge anybody to stick to it, whatever it is. If it's reading 5 minutes, if it's going for a walk, whatever it is, if it's walking the dogs like you do, Krish. A lot of the best conference calls are held at 7 a.m. in the morning walking the dog, right? So a lot of things go through your head at those times. So, Krish, thank you so much for joining us today. A lot of great content. I hope everybody enjoyed it. If you want to learn more about Krish Dhokia, you can follow him on Instagram, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. You also have a blog, right?
Krish? I do.
Yeah.
It's krishdhokia.com, but I was actually going to plug our blog. Yep. So on kindtpo.com, we recently did launch a blog, and there's an entire section where you can see all the Dell Talk videos, of course, but just a ton of content from Glenn. And there's even content specifically for our mortgage brokers. Yep. And we hope that you guys will go out there and read some of that information, a lot of tidbits. We're going to be including some of the marketing tips and tactics as well, because again, what I did say earlier is none of this is a secret, right? You don't have to be a 20-year marketing veteran to be able to deploy these tactics. And especially given that there's so many unknowns coming up, that we want to make sure that you guys are armed with those tools.
That's right. And thank you for reminding me of that. It's a great blog. If any of you want to jump on, it's at kindtpo.com. Make sure you visit us there as well too. So, Krish, thank you so much. I'm sure we have a meeting in an hour anyway, right? So I get to see you again in an hour. But thank you, all of you, for watching. I hope you enjoyed this content. If you want to learn more about Krish, you can visit him at the sites we discussed earlier. please visit our site at kindtpo.com and follow us on Instagram and also the YouTube channel. Krish, thank you so much for your time today. Mackenzie, thank you. You rocked it today as well. Have a great day, everyone. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.